Stephens College is an all-women's college in Columbia, Missouri. Stephens College was renamed several times, but traces its history back to 1833, when it was originally founded as the Columbia Female Academy. The academy closed in 1855, but was immediately reestablished as the Columbia Female Baptist Academy. The name was later changed in 1870 to Stephens College after a large endowment was granted to it by James L. Stephens. In 1921, Jesse Burrell brings the Burrell Bible class to Stephens College. The class proved to be so popular that not only did Stephens College students attend, but also thousands of students from nearby University of Missouri. In the fall of 2019, Stephens College will begin admitting transgendered men, that is, biological men who believe they're women. They're doing this under the auspices of Title IX. Of course, when Title IX was enacted, it was never meant to include those with gender psychiatric issues. In an additional bizarre twist, Stephens College has stated that they will not admit transgender women, that is, biological women who believe they are men. Just to recap, certain biological men will be admitted to the all-women's college, but certain biological women will not. No word on whether Stephens College will be admitting part-time students or providing flexible schedules for those who sometimes believe they are one gender or another. So why is this important? This is important because it's just another sign of the depraved minds that continue to attack God's created order and, in doing so, attack God as creator. As we see in Romans chapter 1, verses 19 and 20, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things which are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. The creation itself is evidence of God and an example of his power and majesty. So evident is the work of God's hand in creation that God says that those who do not acknowledge him when confronted with his glorious creation will have no excuse for their lack of gratitude and awe. God goes on to say in verse 21, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. The unwillingness to acknowledge God and his creation and be thankful for this creation is an affront to God and an insult. As one continues to read the remainder of Romans chapter 1, one can see that God punishes people who ignore his creation by turning them over to their depraved mind and the corruption of their sinful lusts. After more than a century of denying God's creation by the embrace of the theory of evolution, we can see the fulfillment of this ominous promise. God has turned our society over to a mind so depraved that basic science, biology, and genetics are ignored. The fact that a biological male with Y chromosomes in tens of trillions of cells in his body can still be regarded by anyone, let alone a supposed institution of higher education, as a woman, is a naked assault on God's creation and therefore on God as creator. To quote again from Romans chapter 1, this time verse 22, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. One could go on to talk about the systematic indoctrination of very young children into this denial of our Creator God, but that'll be the subject for future posts. There's even a more specific, ominous warning for a society who chooses to insult God and His creation in Jude verse 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Sodom and Gomorrah, indulging in fornication, as our culture has embraced for decades now, further perverted their insatiable lusts. So our culture today is hurtling headlong down the same path at an ever-increasing pace. God warns those who follow this path to heed the warning of Sodom and Gomorrah. They are suffering God's vengeance for their perverse lusts, the vengeance of a fire that never ends. Why do people who may have little or no knowledge of the Bible still know about Sodom? Because God is true to His word, and these ancient cities are set forth as a warning to the modern-day Sodoms and Gomorrahs who also choose to ignore God's created order, ignore God as creator, and worship and pursue their own vain reasonings and desires. As God was patient with Sodom while a handful of faithful people therein dwelt, so God has proved patient with us. But how long will He endure the embrace of abomination and the growing boldness of the insult to Him as Creator of all?